All right. Watch the Game podcast. Thanks for joining. L.A. Cheatham.
Pennjamin Bannekar. It's no executive blazer tonight, I see. But you got primetime blue on, though.
You got that right. Primetime blue with a lot of primetime frustration.
Yeah.
I'm going to try not to break a sweat tonight because we're used to this. Got a lot to talk about. We're going to try and get off into some other things outside of the Bears tonight. But that's the primary reason why we're here tonight, is to talk about the Bears in the Monday Night Football game that took place.
Sunday night football game.
Yeah, the Sunday night football game that took place in Lambeau Field. Now, I went out on a limb, and I predicted that the Bears would win this game.
You did.
And it looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Looked pretty good for about 2.5 quarters.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we really get off into it, I want to touch on a few things. We've been talking about making adjustments, adding guys to the roster, stuff like this. I think me and you both can agree that Jakeem Grant was filling a space in our hearts, slowly but surely, the minute they picked him up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that was evident. And then the first time we saw him touch the ball, he had that same type of electricity that we used to get from one Devin Hester. I ain't saying the same talent level. He's a game changer like that, but it was that type of energy when he touched the ball. We haven't had that in the special teams game since Devin left.
On Sundays or Mondays when the Bears play primetime football, especially on Sundays, I really hope that there's some interesting games that's going to come on during the day, like that first afternoon game and that 3 o'clock midday game leading us up to a Bears primetime football game. And for the most part, I believe the games that we had in our region was kind of uninteresting until I was able to sit back and the Tampa Bay and let me say, who did Tampa Bay play again? Buffalo Bills. Pretty good matchup.
Yeah.
From the outset, it looked like a pretty good matchup, but that damn game put me to sleep for at least the first half. But then something interesting happened. They went to overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I bringing this up?
Because, what's his name? Brashard Perryman?
Yes.
On the Bears roster, who they signed. So my man Rodney Adams had to go down to the practice squad roster. Who never saw the field. I never saw him make a catch or an impact or do anything while he was in Chicago Bears uniform. Lo and behold, who makes the game-winning touchdown? Tom Brady to him. I think it was like at least 65 yards. He's 65-yard touchdown to win the game. He was in our building. But I digress.
Now, he wasn't good enough to touch the field, maybe even get a snap for a roster evaluation. They brought him in because he was a big receiver with speed.
Yep.
Okay. Neither here nor there. I didn't get a chance to look at a lot of people are talking about Cordero Patterson and the performance he's putting up in Atlanta. Atlanta's are like 6-7.
Yeah, they under 500. They trying to squeak into the playoff.
Okay, and I get it, but the point I'm gonna make is when we had Cordero Patterson, he was misused. He is not a running back. Right. I don't have his stat line in front of me at all. I know he's a very durable guy. He does multiple things on the football field, but he was misused in Chicago. They asked him to do a little too much. I don't think we're missing Cordero Patterson.
No, not at all. Not at all. I ain't thought about Cordero Patterson.
We could most definitely use Rashard Perriman just because of his size and speed.
And especially when you look at how the wide receiver position has been riddled with injuries and everything that they had. I mean, Allen Robinson, he just played again for the first time last Sunday. That was his first game in how many weeks? Like 3 weeks?
Probably about 3 or 4 weeks when you add the bye week in there.
Yeah, so I mean, they had to activate Rodney Adams from the practice squad to have enough wide receivers on the roster. So again, this guy was in our building, but you know.
And then let's touch on Lambeau, the game that happened Sunday night at Lambeau Field. Okay, Jakeem Grant, he showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Damian Byrd, we've been kind of, liking the contribution he's been giving the Bears in the past couple of 3 weeks. He had a big play. Went for a touchdown. Look, there is talent on this roster. I continue to say this. Bear with me for 1 second. I'm going to hold that thought. Okay. And now I'm back. Okay. Now, there's talent on this roster. I'm going to just spit out a few names. All of these guys have made an impact on this team at one point or another. On the offensive end, we got David Montgomery.
Yeah.
Justin Fields.
Okay.
Darnell Mooney. Jakeem Grant. Inconsistently, Cole Kmet. Inconsistent, I should say. Inconsistent. And then last but not least, and I'm probably leaving out a few, Allen Robinson, who has had a struggle over time just to make plays in this offense.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you one you're leaving out. Khalil Herbert, off top. You ain't mentioned him. You already said Justin. Jimmy Graham has come alive as of late. Them two guys just off the top of the head to add to your list that have made significant contributions to this offensive team this year.
Okay, I don't know if I mentioned Damian Byrd, but I'm going to throw in Jesse James. So there's talent on this roster. The problem is, from 1 week to the next, they have a problem putting it all together and playing 60 minutes of football. Now, if you would have told the coaching staff and the fan base that going into halftime, Jakeem Grant would have, I think, 2 touchdowns, 1 receiving,
and a punt return.
Punt return.
No, it was punt return, 97-yard punt return.
And Damian Byrd had a receiving touchdown. I didn't say anything about David Montgomery or Khalil Herbert or Allen Robinson yet. When you talk about this particular game. But yet again, the lack of adjustments to even being successful. They can't even adjust to being successful. Like, okay, we just had some things happen. Now we can do this. When you look at David Montgomery's statistics, I think he only carried the ball 10 times.
You're right.
Okay. So rushing. Once again, Justin Fields led the team in rushing. 9 attempts for 74 yards. David Montgomery, 10 attempts for 42 yards. Damian Williams, 2 attempts for 13 yards. Overall, they had 23 rushing attempts for 137 yards.
And can we really count the 9 that Justin had? Because those was him getting out the pocket and making something happen. They wasn't like design runs. So I'm gonna subtract them 9.
Yeah, but they're in the stat line. But what you can say is those are runs that were not planned.
Right. Yeah. Okay. We'll do that.
Those runs were not schemed up.
We'll do
So
that.
once again, even with the plays we got, those are bonus plays. Jakeem Grant with 2 tutties, Damian Bird with a touchdown. They're professionals, don't get me wrong. But those are bonus plays.
Mm-hmm.
At some point in time, you got to get your best player involved in the football game. And that didn't happen. Now, I'm gonna throw some criticism towards Justin Fields on the interception. He threw an interception to Rasul Douglas for a pick 6.
He was late and inside with the ball.
Yeah. I don't believe Darnell Mooney's a number 1 receiver. I really don't. I think he's too small. I don't think he can go up and fight for the ball like a number 1 receiver should be able to do. I mean, I really see that they lack size in the receiving core, although they do have speed. And that's why I brought up Brashard Perriman at the very beginning, because he was the one guy that had a little size and had a little speed and could probably make the same type of plays that maybe even Allen Robinson could make when he was out. Just poor roster adjustments throughout the offense, and even if you touch on the defense, when you go back to Leonard Floyd years ago, we found out that he was put in the wrong position. What it comes down to is coaching. And we're going to beat a dead horse. We're going to say this time and time again. But that's pretty much what it comes down to, coaching.
Mm-hmm.
After 15 minutes of football, you know who looked really good to me? Ryan Pace, the general manager.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was the guy that went out and got these talented players. Now, the Bears have had talent. I can go through the name that he's either drafted or brought in. Don't get me wrong. He's blew some picks over his time, but he's getting to learn his job pretty well, I would like to say. Now, don't get me wrong. He may be misusing the salary cap. That's his biggest problem now, because he has a lot of money invested in quarterbacks. He has a lot of money invested into Jimmy Graham.
Mm-hmm.
And for the money that they're paying him, they're not asking him to do enough. Not to say he's not capable, because I believe he is. But they wait too late. They wait too late in the season to ask guys to step up and be accountable again.
And two more players you can add to that is Eddie Jackson, because his contract is looking real bad with the way he's performed over the last 2 years. And I love him. I like him being on the team, but he can't stay healthy. Hakeem Hicks, he's always out, and he got a big deal. Like that's eating away from money that we could have. Rotational guys coming in on the D line or filling in secondary linebacker spots, or even just beefing up the secondary in general, because we already know, and I know we're gonna touch on this, Xavier Crawford and Kendall Vildor is just not what it is. Like, you can allocate some of that money and get you a better type cornerback, better type safety. But it was some things I noticed in Sunday night's game that put me in the mind of the greatest basketball player of all time, Michael Jeffrey Jordan. And I know you remember this, because we watched Michael Jordan Airtime right there in Grandma's basement on VHS. It wasn't on DVD. We had to watch it in the VCR. We watched it. And it was a statement that he made. He said, when they was young and coming up and they were playing the Boston Celtics, didn't matter how they started the game. They could be up 12, 16 points on Boston. Boston knew they was going to come back and beat the Bulls. And then when the Bulls got to that championship level, that's how they start playing. Like, it don't matter how the game starts, because we going to win in the end. That's how that game played out with the Packers and the Bears at Lambeau Field. And it was evident. Remember the fourth down play? The Bears was up, leading in the game. Instead of taking the points, Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers decided, you know what? These are the Bears we playing. These are the Bears. And they scored a touchdown. And it was just evident. Bears scored 24 points in the second quarter. Packers put up 21. It just never felt like The Bears shot their wad in the first half. They couldn't play no better than they did, minus the 2 turnovers. Minus the 1 interception from Justin Fields. They couldn't play no better than that. And they still lost the game by 15. And when I was making my picks, every Sunday, I do the FanDuel, the sports gambling and the parlays. I got to the Bears game. The Bears was 11.5-point underdogs. So I said, L.A. Cheatham just went out on a limb and said the Bears are going to win this game, but I think this team has quit. And Aaron Rodgers owning the Chicago Bears is a real thing. So I picked the Packers to cover the spread, and lo and behold, they won by 15. How does this happen? How does this happen?
Because they didn't play 60 minutes of football. Now I'm going to ask you, how did you feel when the Bears had those quick strike plays, even after Justin Fields threw the pick 6? He came out, hit a big play to Damian Bird. How did you feel at that point?
I was glad we answered, but I knew we couldn't stop Aaron. So I knew Aaron was going to go down the field and get his points. And I know you listen to the radio broadcast, but the telecast, they was trying to make a big deal out of Jalen Johnson and Devontae Adams. And Devontae Adams was coming off of like a little hamstring tweak. He hadn't practiced all week. And then he catches he catches the deep pass right before halftime. We got 2 of our guys hit each other, and he just walks in the end zone. And he finished the game over 100 yards. So who really won that battle? I didn't even think that was worth making that a point of emphasis like they did. Like, you cannot turn the ball over. You cannot give them short fields. And when you have opportunities to make turnovers and get them off the field, you got to come through, because Aaron Rodgers is going to put up points. And now that they got the running game with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones, it's pick your poison. Because Aaron's not going to turn it over to you. Maybe once. But it was deflating to see that, because although we were in the game at halftime, I never really felt like we had a chance to win that game.
Well, I felt like at halftime that there was still 30 minutes of football left to be played. And I also felt like even before halftime, the things were caving in for the Bears. But for a minute, when Jakeem Grant returned that punt back for a touchdown, I saw a look on Matt LaFleur's face he didn't look very confident. And I felt like he was looking for answers at that time. But this is one thing I want to say about spectacular players, coaches. Matt LaFleur, young, probably pretty good coach. But damn it, Aaron Rodgers made it happen last night.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing he hasn't seen. And to go back to that play when you're talking about when Xavier Crawford and Eddie Jackson ran into each other, this is what Aaron Rodgers saw. He saw zone. And he saw Xavier Crawford matched up with his best wide receiver. And that's why he made that adjustment and threw that pass. But the problem I have is they had the right coverage.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't make a play on the ball. It was 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
Xavier Crawford, Eddie Jackson, and who was that he was throwing the ball to?
Devontae Adams.
Just the best damn receiver on the field. He was just the best receiver
in the league.
He was just the best damn. I'm talking about on the field at that time.
Yeah.
He was just the best wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, here he comes. There's the ball. Who's going to make a play on the football? Instead, they created a folly and ran into each other.
And Crawford gets hurt.
I never want to see anyone get hurt. But Xavier Crawford was knocked out of the game by Eddie Jackson. Went out with a concussion. You never want to see anybody get hurt. But at that point, I just wanted him out of the game. Not like that, but I just wanted him out of the game.
Yeah. Well,
and then
when he went out, though, I knew what that meant. That meant Vildor was going to get significant snaps. I didn't want to see that either. So I was like, we damned if we do it, we damned if we don't right now. So I didn't want to see him go out the game. But it was like, put some clown music to it. What happened on that play? Like, y'all professional football players, and y'all running into each other, and nobody laid a finger on the best receiver on the field, arguably the best receiver in the league. Like, and I know you texted me last night, text me Sunday night about Sean Desai. It's time for him to go too. How do you not game plan for that? Like, how is that not a point of emphasis all week? And I think the coverage, how they played that whole series going into the half, was completely wrong. Because they basically went into a shell, like prevent defense. You can't do that. You can't. What NFL game, when they go into prevent defense and it's the last drive of the game and they need a field goal, how often do they get down there to at least attempt the field goal? Now, the kicker may miss it, but the prevent defense, what is it doing?
But this was in the first half, am I right?
Yeah.
So you still should be playing aggressively to either get the ball back and score more points, or if nothing else, keep them out of the end zone.
Exactly.
So you're exactly right. I mean, and whatever happened to the emphasis of having the turnover bucket?
I ain't seen the turnover bucket since week 3? Preseason.
I think they got a turnover against Detroit. I want to say they got one. But what I'm saying is, when you bring up Sean Desai, his biggest emphasis was creating turnovers, stuff like this. That hasn't been the emphasis since the Raider game. They haven't done a good job of that. Okay. Now I just think he's been outclassed and outcoached. Aaron Rodgers was the man last night. And like you said, how can you not game plan for that? And then at one point, it seemed like the Bears were down by 11 points forever. And the defense just couldn't get off the field. And at this point, they were just running it down their throat. AJ Dillon was just running it down their throat. No physicality, no level of toughness, and to what you mentioned earlier, it just looked like they quit. Mm-hmm. It just looked like they quit.
I was surprised at the effort that they came out with in the first half, because I thought this team had quit on Nagy. I thought this team was ready for the offseason, just ready to move on. So I was actually surprised at how they played in the first half, but I never felt like that was enough to win the game. We've seen Aaron Rodgers.
No, especially when you gave up the points the way you did in the first half. You're only up by 6 points at half. You knew good and well. I thought at that point, I'd say, well, damn, at this rate, the Bears gonna have to score 50 points to win this football game. And to be honest with you, the way the defense came out in the first quarter, they looked really fired up, really motivated to play, and they wanted to put Aaron Rodgers in his place. Mm-hmm. Robbie Quinn had a hell of a first quarter. Lau Nichols, I mean, they got to him pretty good. But it's like the third quarter, down the stretch of the second quarter and into the third quarter, the level of physicality was just gone. They were not physical enough on the defensive line. They got pushed down the field. And then at that point, the Packers just took all the momentum. And at that point, it looked like they had quit. Like, look, we shot our best shot. Let's just get this over with. And the thing is, man, Nagy still didn't call the best game, even when you were down by 11 points. There were some things he could have did, even when they had the football, that he opted not to do. I mean, what the hell was that field goal for to just put 30 points on the board, just put another 3 points on the board, and then you turn around and you onside. Was it an onside kick?
It was. It was.
So don't you try and go for 6 before you do an onside kick? And then we talk about special teams. And then we talk about Kendall Vildor again. Now, when he came into the game after Xavier Crawford left, he didn't look particularly bad on the defense.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, what the guys don't know the rules, it's coaching. Can't step out of bounds on your own. You got to be forced out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
So, once again, I don't know if we could but he is a professional, so he should know this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to give it to him and coaching. Special teams coach, Matt Nagy says that it all goes through me. So it goes through Matt Nagy. So at the end of the day, I'm going to put it on him. But the guys don't know the rules. Come on, man.
And we would have had the ball inside the red zone off of the muff punt. Chance to get back in the game. It's a turnover going in your favor, which you need versus Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau Field, unless you Tom Brady. You need these type of things to go your way, and you just give it right back to him. And then, as you gave it right back to him, Amari Rodgers actually gets a decent punt return on the second time. It was just deflated. It was deflated.
And I just want to point out the play that we're talking about is when we actually he did this on a punt return, I believe.
Yeah.
And the receiver let it bounce off his chest. Damian Williams picked it up, but it was for naught because Kendall Vildor had ran out of bounds as one of the gunners. He runs out of bounds, and there's a flag on the play. Got to kick it over again. And like you said, the guy had a much better return after that.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you sick. It really makes you sick that a team cannot find a way to be successful after you've seen the potential and the possibilities of a few talented guys on this roster that's been having a hard time contributing to the success of the offense.
Yep.
There's really nothing else to be said. We talked about it last week about the coaches, the possible coaches that could be coming in here. There's some things I've been hearing about Trace Armstrong being brought into the organization. I don't know if you remember Trace Armstrong.
Yeah. That's
Trace Armstrong. He's been mentioned to come into the organization in some type of capacity, I think in the player operations, and I think he's denied it. But I think it's obvious that there's at least with the coaches, there's some changes that need to be made, and maybe even it's time for Ted Phillips to be gone. Now I think a lot of people some people are confused about what Ted Phillips' role is in the Bears organization. But I don't have the correct number of coaches that he's been here since 1999. The number of coaches and general managers that he's been able to either hire or fire. I think it's just time for him to, maybe be gone. And then there's other people that say that he's just there to handle the business, like the Soldier Field issues, the park district in Chicago. A lot of people say that this is his role. He's not involved in player and coaching decisions. And a lot of people just think that's a flat out lie. So now it's just time to probably make some changes. We need some good football people in Chicago.
Do you remember all of the shortcomings the Chicago Cubs had trying to get over the hump? And it was not until they got baseball people in charge, Theo Epstein. When they got baseball people in charge, That's when they turn things around, and lo and behold, 2016, they win the World Series. This Chicago Bears thing will not turn around until they get football people in place to make it turn. It starts from the top and it comes down. And if the top is concerned about, oh, we gonna move, off the lakefront, and we gonna go out to Arlington Heights so we can have a Bears Plaza out there and make more money, but you don't care about the product on the field or what the fan base is saying. 1985. Okay, I was 2 years old. I don't even remember the Super Bowl. I've seen highlights. I've seen the Super Bowl shuffle. I never got to, in 06, we went, but I never really felt like with Rex as the quarterback, that we had a chance to win that Super Bowl. You know what I mean? I want to feel like each year we take this, I want to feel like the Packers. That's what I want to feel like. I want to feel like the Packers. Every year, I know we going to be there. We going to get to the divisional round at least, at minimum. And I'm just tired, man. I'm tired. I mean, my boys Michigan, they finally got over the hump. So I just got that monkey off my back. But I still got this big Chicago Bears monkey on my back. And I'm tired, man.
Well, unfortunately, I said we would laugh at this, but there's not a lot. I don't feel like laughing a whole lot tonight because there's a little bit more frustration settling in. But we're going to end this on a high note, and we're going to talk about some things other than the Chicago Bears before we wrap this up. But the Bears got another primetime football game to play against the Minnesota Vikings. And I'm going to go out on a limb again. Yep. Because this is the reason why I'm going to go out on a limb, because this thing is going to end in confusion. And the powers that be at Hallis Hall are going to have to make some decisions. The reason why I say it's going to go down in confusion is because the Bears are going to win a couple more games. They're going to win a couple more games. As hard as it is for you to believe that, the Bears will win at least 2, maybe even 3 more games.
And that puts the whole narrative. They finished the season strong. Let's give this regime one more crack at it. Yeah, I get it. I can see that happening. I can see it.
This is what's going to happen. I want to wish Justin Fields health. I want to see him finish strong. I want to see him learn from his mistakes. And it seemed like last night he didn't live. He just got back on the field and he continued to play hard. He made plays that were available even after the pick six, even after the fumble. He's got a lot to learn. And with that one fumble that he had, we could put that on the rookie, Tevin Jenkins.
Mm-hmm. He had a very bad game yesterday.
But yet again,
that's his first
he's
game.
A rookie.
Yeah.
He's a rookie in this one game. So I'm not going to be too rough on him. I mean, Jason Peters went down on the second and third play of the game. So I'm not going to be too rough on the rookie because I did see him. He pancaked somebody. I seen it. And they had
that brings me to the point. I hold your thought right quick. You know how when the defensive lineman or defensive tackle, when they make a play, they up flexing and celebrating. Offensive linemen don't get to do nothing. So this is what I am suggesting. I'm throwing this out there. This is a Watch the Game podcast rule that we gonna institute. When an offensive lineman pancakes somebody, he should get up and get the flex. He should get some TV time because these guys are they do all the dirty work. And they don't get they don't get to spike the ball when they score a touchdown. You know what I'm saying? They don't get none of this.
Sometimes they do because occasionally a running back will hand him the ball or maybe not a wide receiver, but a lot of times some of the running backs will give him the ball. But I get where you're going because Jenkins did get in on the celebration when Jakeem Grant went in for the touchdown.
Yeah,
because I think he picked him up, and that was a nice highlight. It's nice to see the guy hit the field, have a little fun at that time, and he looked like very much so like a big offensive lineman. Threw Jakeem up in the air, joined in the celebration. It was good to see.
Yeah,
but he made some mistakes last night. We can't overlook that. I want to say that I'm gonna give him that one game. Larry Bourne. We finally got a chance to see him and Larry Bourne play together. Larry Bourne played at right tackle. He was at left tackle. I mean, it was good to see the future. I mean, when you're thinking about Justin Fields, Khalil Herbert, Larry Bourne, and Tevin Jenkins, I think those guys should have a pretty bright future. Those are big boys. Talking about Larry Bourne and Tevin Jenkins, those are pretty big boys. Mm-hmm. So if they could just stay healthy, man, and you know, a lot of problems that a lot of the offensive linemen have are lower leg injuries, and if they could just stay away from those things, Justin Fields might have some pretty nice hog mollies in front of him.
And that goes back to your earlier point. There is talent on the team. There's talent on the team. Justin got to clean up his mistakes. I think right now he had 6 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, and I don't even know how many fumbles. But he got to clean that up against year one. He'll get better with that. The offensive tackles that you just mentioned, David Montgomery is still very, very young. Khalil Herbert is a rookie this year. Mooney's not a number one, but he's a guy I want in the foxhole with me. Cole Kmet got to come along and get more consistent. There's talent on the roster. Jakeem Grant, and I meant to throw this to you earlier. Do you think with the emergence of how Jakeem Grant has been playing, and we have not seen Tariq Cohen on the field whatsoever, and they the same type of stature, do you think both of them are on the team next year?
If Tariq Cohen is not healthy when it's time for the 53-man roster to be set next season, we may have seen the last of Tariq Cohen, I believe. Because I had that same thought as I seen Jakeem Grant, and it wasn't, and that didn't just come to mind on Sunday night. That came to mind the minute I seen him run the football. When I seen him return punts and kickoffs, I thought about Devin Hester. When I seen him be acclimated to the passing game, and as well as the end-around run game, I thought about the role Tariq Cohen plays on this team because he's the same type of player, same in stature. But it would be nice if we could have them both. It would really be nice if we could have them both. I mean, that would be out of sight with maybe another big receiver that we can throw in out there from time to time.
That's why I don't think both of them make the team. Because when you think about, look how Jakeem Grant stature. Look at Mooney, he's small. Demir Bird, he's small. Cohen is small. Like, you got a lot of small, quick guys. You got to some guys got to have some size. So, they can go out there and compete. I think it's probably safe to say at this point that Allen Robinson won't be a Chicago Bear next year. I mean, if I'm him, I'm not re-signing. I want to go somewhere where, they give me that bag and I got opportunity to make plays on the field. Ever since Justin took over, he's really not been part of the offense, other than when Justin tries to force him the ball.
You took the words out of my mouth because it does look like Justin is trying to force Allen Robinson the football. Now, the thing is, I don't think Allen Robinson is going to get that bag we're talking about, because I just think that, he hasn't done enough this year for the Bears to really pay him what he think he's worth. And I don't think he's done enough for anyone else to just throw him a boatload of money either. Now, question is, where could he end up? And when you're looking at this, I'm looking at, okay, we got to look at the other teams. I absolutely do not want to see Allen Robinson end up in Green Bay. I absolutely do not want to see him end up in Minnesota. Bottom line is, I don't want him in the division. Mm-hmm. Now, what's his price tag after this season? The Bears gave him the tag.
Right.
I think he's one of the highest paid receivers in the league right now, based on the franchise tag.
Yeah.
But what is his price? And is he worth it? What does he think he's worth? Because I don't even believe he's one of the top wide receivers in the league. I think he's a number 2 at best.
I would agree with that too. He'll probably end up taking a 1-year prove-it deal somewhere, kind of like we seen Nelson Aguilar take with the Raiders last year, and then he got paid by your boy Belichick in New England Patriots this year. So he's probably looking at something like that. The days of him being a quote-unquote #1 wide receiver and catching over 100 balls like he did last year, that's probably over with. I can't. Let's just play the scenario out. Even if he was to end up with the Packers and Aaron is still there, he still got to split targets and pass attempts with Devontae. I think he would be an upgrade from somebody like Alan Lazard, but he's not. He ain't got the speed Lazard got, or what's his name, Marquez Valdez-Scantling or whatever it is. He ain't got that type of speed. So where does he go? I don't know. Back to Jacksonville?
I don't think he want to go back to Jacksonville. I'm gonna throw another team out there, and it is in Florida. Maybe he can go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And he'll go down there and look like an all-star, because you already know go dude. So I mean, he got Gronk looking like he's still in his prime. He revitalized AB. AB just keep doing stupid stuff to take himself off the field. Mike Evans, before Goat got to Tampa Bay, did you think Mike Evans was a top receiver in the league? You just heard about his stats, but they was like non-impactful. Like he was still under 500, and now he got Goat, and he looked like one of the top 3 or 4 receivers in the game.
To go along with that, coming out of college, he was considered to be a potentially really good wide receiver. But he had my man that they drafted, who's the quarterback they had to throw all the interceptions? Jameis Winston. So he didn't get the best. Jameis Winston wasn't able to get the best out of him. But yeah, you throw Tom Brady out there, he was able to get the best. He's able to get the best out of Mike Evans. And then we just sit here and talked about Rashad Perriman. I mean, hell, he ain't even been there for 2 weeks probably. Mm-hmm. And he said, hey, Rashad, go deep. Come on, man. And this is where the quarterback makes a difference. Then, if we could talk about Patrick Mahomes, we could talk about Lamar Jackson. We could talk about the quarterback in Buffalo. There's only 3 guys with this type of potential. It's Aaron Rodgers 1, Tom Brady, and then maybe Russell Wilson. The rest of the quarterbacks that we talk about, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, I don't forget, what's the guy's name in Buffalo? Josh Allen. These guys can't go to the line of scrimmage and just say, hey, I seen this and I saw that. Mm-hmm. Let's make this adjustment. I think there's only 3 guys in the league that can do that. And until those guys prove that they can do that, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, #1, Tom Brady, #2. Because it's plain to see that Tom Brady is pulling a LeBron James in Tampa. He goes and he has the authority to tell people who he wants, and he goes and he can get them. Now, when we talk about Allen Robinson, and you talk about Brown in Tampa, mm-hmm. When you look at all the problems that they're having with Antonio Brown in Tampa, and when you got a guy like Allen Robinson that's really just going to come and ball, when you ain't got to deal with all that extra stuff, that's why I brought up Tampa.
Hey, it could, because, I mean, the rumor is they're not even going to bring AB back after his 3-game suspension is up. So, they'll have a space available.
But I don't think he's going to get that bag he wants. Oh, no. Regardless, he can go to Green Bay or Tampa. I don't think he's going to get that bag.
No, it'll be 1-year prove-it deal.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to say it again. Bears will beat the Vikings because we're in Soldier Field on Monday night. And that's my pick. Bears will beat the Vikings.
And my pick is whatever the line is, I'm taking the Vikings to cover it because I think this team is quick. But to your point earlier, I can see the Bears getting on a little mini roll to close out the season, just enough to give us some confusion going into the offseason and bringing back this regime again, which would be not what we need, but this is what the Bears do.
Yeah, there's going to be some confusion down the stretch. You can believe that. Let's touch into Saturday night's Heisman race. Bryce Young walked away with the Heisman, University of Alabama quarterback. Let me read some of this stat line off to you. 4,322 passing yards, 43 touchdowns. I think he was second in college football with that. He only had 4 interceptions, and he had a QBR, quarterback rating of 88.9. I felt like after the Georgia game in the SEC championship, Bryce Young had made a serious case to be the Heisman. And what we found out was, I think I was exactly right.
Yeah. He should have won it. For the other candidates was Pickett from Pittsburgh. I don't think his team had enough success for him to get the award. C.J. Stroud was eliminated when they lost to Michigan, and that felt great. And it actually catapulted Aiden Hutchinson into the race. So Aiden finished in second, I believe. So I mean, they got it right. Definitely, Bryce Young was supposed to win the Heisman. There was really no clear-cut Heisman candidate that led from pole to pole this year. It wasn't like Devontae Smith last year or the year when who else won it? When Cam won it. There was no clear cut like this is the guy, it's his award to lose. So in that aspect, I think the Heisman race was pretty refreshing and exciting to see the new names get mentioned this year. But they definitely got it right. They got it right.
I believe that if we're going to talk about Aiden Hutchinson, he finished second, 14 sacks. That breaks the record for Michigan in a single season. Him being a defensive player, one of the few defensive players to win or possibly have a chance to win since Charles Woodson, another defensive player from the University of Michigan. But I really believe that had Bryce Young lost that SEC championship, had Georgia beat them, and he not played as well as he did, Aiden Hutchinson probably would have walked away with that award.
And I'll say, too, if they lose the Iron Bowl, it's probably Aiden Hutchinson's, because he didn't really have a particularly great game in the Iron Bowl versus Auburn. He just made the plays in the clutch to keep the season alive. So, yeah, if those two things don't happen, you definitely got to give it to Aiden.
Yeah. Aiden Hutchinson, big-time year. I'm going to go out on the limb and say he'll be a Detroit Lion next year. And then Kenny Pickett, Mr. Fake Slide himself. Kenny Pickett, 42 touchdown passes, University of Pittsburgh. Kenny Pickett is going to go down in history simply because he's gotten, and this probably will go to the NFL as well. I think he's the first guy I've ever seen attempt the fake slide. And with that being said, he attempts the fake slide and got a new rule in the rule book now. I believe that will be a penalty now. You cannot fake slide. So there ain't no more flopping in the game.
Yeah.
I believe that will be his contribution to college football history. The fake slide, as well as being one of the finalists for the Heisman. And I'm going to go out on the limb looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think he might be a pretty popular pick in the draft to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they know him pretty well down there.
They actually have the same practice facility. So, that's definitely a good landing spot for him. Because can you say they really sold on Dwayne Haskins taking over for Roethlisberger next year?
Nah. No, it's about selling tickets too, and I believe that Haskins will get a shot because I think Roethlisberger might be done. But I believe that Kenny Pickett is pretty popular in Pittsburgh, and I believe if they have an opportunity to pick him up, first or second round, because I don't know if many teams will be going after quarterbacks this season, after this season. But I believe he may have an opportunity. What is Kenny Pickett anyway? Is he a junior, senior, what?
That is a good question. I believe he is a junior.
We can come back to him. We can talk about C.J. Stroud. He finished with the best QBR in college football with 89.8. So that rounded out the Heisman race. Them were your top four guys, with Bryce Young winning the award well deservingly. But like I said, Aiden Hutchinson, I wanted to mention his name because he was the one defensive player that had an opportunity to even go to New York and have a serious opportunity to win the award.
Yeah. I would say I've never really watched the Heisman show because I didn't think Aiden had a chance to win, so I just caught the headline afterward. But after that, I guess the role that Michigan had been on, they had to beat Penn State, and then they beat Ohio State, and then the Big Ten championship. I felt the void last Saturday. I really felt like I didn't know what to do with myself all day because it was no Michigan game to watch. So December 31st can't get here fast enough for me.
Yeah, it can't get here fast enough because we're going to try and lead up to those semifinal games. I want to get a look at Kenny Pickett, and I'm going to try and check him out in his bowl game. I'm not sure which game he'll be playing in. C.J. Stroud will be playing in the bowl game. But like you say, the main course is the semifinal games on New Year's Eve with Ohio State. I mean, not Ohio State, but Cincinnati playing Alabama. And Michigan Wolverines playing Georgia in the nightcap. I'll be with you in number 12. And Cutter Pac-Man, I'll be with you guys that night, hopefully. And we'll be watching those games together. But then we're going to talk about some other things. By the way, we're going to talk about a little b-ball. Got a little b-ball action going on. We're talking about the NBA, high school, college, all that stuff jumping off around the country. Not a whole lot to say other than looking at the standings. I mean, the top four teams in the East is the Nets, the Bucks, the Bulls, and the Heat. And then out west is the Suns, the Warriors, the Jazz, and the Grizzlies. One other thing worth talking about in the NBA is Steph Curry is right on the heels of Ray Allen for all-time three-pointers in points in the NBA. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to leave tonight without talking about that because I believe by the time we speak again, Steph Curry might be number one. He's really close to breaking that record as we speak.
I believe they got a game Monday night. I know they played Saturday night and he lost. He didn't have a good shooting performance. So I believe that next game is Monday night. So yeah, I didn't want to leave tonight without bringing that up because we'll further down the line we'll be talking about a lot more basketball. I believe maybe a little bit closer to Christmas and after Christmas as we get to the NFL playoffs as well. And I think it's pretty fair to say that our Bears will be making some big decisions by that time, and we still got a job to do over here, watch the game. So that's what we'll be doing. We'll be watching whatever the hell game we can, so that we can talk about it here, and maybe get a chance to bring some of our audience in and some of these great people that are supporting us, and get them to have some contributions to the show. I got this popcorn segment I want to bring up, and then we're gonna close it out. Okay.
But I sent you a couple of trailers. Popcorn segment. There's two sports movies that are going to be very interesting to me, at least. One is The American Underdog, a story about Kurt Warner, Super Bowl quarterback for the St. Louis Rams at that time. The story about how he made it to the NFL. And the reason why I bring this up is because who is the next American underdog? When you talk about the quarterback position, because there's been so much emphasis on getting that big-time quarterback out of the draft. There's very few guys that might even get the opportunity to be the next Kurt Warner or the next Steve Young or the next Warren Moon. I don't know if them days might be over with.
The one guy I can think of just off the top of my head right now is the kid on the Washington football team, Taylor Heineke. He's the only one that can, I guess, have a legit shot at it. It seems like Ron Rivera is entrenched to go with him for the rest of this season, and probably he'll be the starter going into next season. So, but other than that, I mean, you look around the league. I mean, you got pretty much named guys. You got Trevor Lawrence. You got your Carson Wentz, who came out of college, highly coveted. You got Jalen Hurts. You got Josh Allen. You got your Tuas. I mean, the list goes on and on. Like, these guys came in with college resumes. So Taylor Heineke would be the only one that I can think of on top of my head.
I'm going to throw another one at you that you probably forgot about. You talk about Jalen Hurts. But Gardner Minshew, he just had a hell of a game against the Jets a week or so ago. And he had a hell of a celebration with his dad. I don't know if you saw that celebration outside the stadium. But Gardner Minshew. But my point is, who is the next American underdog? Because I think it's fair to say that Heineke just got injured too. But I think Heineke and Minshew are names you could talk about when you just talk about the next so-called American underdog when you talk about the quarterback position in the NFL.
Yeah, I would go with that. My only knack against Gardner Minshew is I hate that mustache that he be wearing. Like, dude, cut that off. If you cut that off, it'll probably increase your QBR by about 10 points.
Hey, but that's his flavor. You know what I'm saying? If nothing else, that's his flavor. Colin Kaepernick had his flavor at that time when he was one of the, taking the 49ers to the Super Bowl. He had the cornrows. He put the afro on,
Yeah.
So that's his little niche, man. And then another movie I want to talk about, and I'm gonna leave you with this. I sent you the trailer on the movie that's being executively produced by Russell Wilson. Yeah. The name of the movie is National Champions.
Yeah, and I had actually seen that trailer before you sent it to me because I watched a ton of YouTube stuff, and it came up one day. And I was like, what is this? Because I saw the coach is the dude from the Farmers Insurance commercial. We are farmers. I'm like, who is this dude? And he's playing the coach. And I'm looking at the storyline, and my first impression was, what if this happens in real life?
On the heels of the national championship semis.
What? Yeah.
That's why I brought this up.
Yeah. As just seeing how, college players been underpaid and how they pretty much treated it like slavery, for lack of a better term. Like, I can see it going there. But as a fan, selfishly, don't deprive me of those games. But it's a very real premise. I think if the NCAA ever really truly encounters this, it could break the whole system. So fingers crossed it don't happen. I'm glad they got the NIL and they starting to pay these players a little bit, but you probably gonna have to break them off a little bit more of that bag so this situation it can just stay in fantasy land.
And then for me and you both, I think we got the return of something we want to see, and that's another video game for college football coming out. All of this stuff is kind of wrapped up around that. Players getting compensated for their likeness, and that's what this movie is pretty much about, I believe. But it's been real, man. I'm picking the Bears to beat the Vikings, and you going with the?
I'm going with the spread. Yeah, I'm just picking the Vikings to cover the spread. Yeah.
All right, it's been real. Thank everyone for joining us on Watch the Game podcast. We see you next week after the Bears beat the Vikings.
We out.